Hi guys, welcome to another Divi theme video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. We got a very cool one today. We're looking at this card carousel. Now this is from Divi Supreme Modules Pro, so it's a paid plugin, but it's one of the most versatile card carousels out there. I'm going to take you through it. So let's take a look. Let's start a new page. And we'll give it a name. And obviously use the Divi builder. I'm going to go ahead and build from scratch. I'm going to put in a row with a single column. Here's all the regular modules you get with Divi, the light grey ones here. When you install Divi Supreme Pro, you get 50 or so extra modules here. There's some wonderful modules. We've covered most of them in our Divi Supreme playlist. You can find a link below there. And we're looking for the Divi card carousel today. There it is right there. I'm going to go ahead and click on it. And by default, there's nothing in there. So let's add a new item. I'm going to hit the plus to add a new item. That's actually one card right there, and it's just repeating it 3 times. As you can see, we've gone from the main carousel settings into the card. Obviously, put your card title there. If you want to add a subtitle, you can do so there. It'll appear underneath. If I just put one in, see it appears underneath there. I'm going to take that back away now. Obviously, put your content in here. And of course, you can use dynamic content. So this is great for products and all kind of things if you've got WooCommerce installed. I've used this for several clients and they're always really impressed by it. Now, it's got an image, which has got a placeholder there and a badge up there. If we move down, let's choose an image and throw it in there. You can see it pops it in there just like that. Now, if you want to, you won't see any difference for these card carousels here. You can use it as a background. And it's got several different display types, such as cube, rotate, and slide, and things like that, where using the image as a background will cover the whole thing and the text and button will be on top. For my purposes today, I'm happy for it to be like this, so I can actually turn that off. It won't make a lot of difference, really. You can choose to open your image in a lightbox if you want to. You can even put a video URL in there and open as a video lightbox. Now, here's the badge right there if you want to show a badge. I'm going to write coming soon in mine. And of course, down below, we've got a link. You can link the badge to one place. You can link the module to another place, the whole module. And you can also link the button down below to another place, or the same place if you want to. And always best practice, if you're linking to your own site, leave it in the same window. If you're linking off-site, open it in a new tab. That way your site's going to stay open. Now here, you put in what you want your button to say. And the URL where you want to take your folks when they click on that button. And again, you can use this button to open that image in a lightbox if you flip that to on. And also, if you put a video URL in there, you can open the video in a lightbox if you want to too. Fantastic. Down below, we've got background. As usual, background's always under content. I'm going to give mine a dark sort of background, 24, 24, 24 grey. Fantastic. Well, let's move over to our design now. And the image, you can give it a fixed width, corners. If your images aren't big enough, you can stretch the image. If you've got a smaller image, you can align it left, middle, right. If you want to have an overlay over your image, you can switch this on. I'm not particularly interested in that for mine today. But that's a pretty cool little effect. Obviously, choose your color. You can give your image rounded corners and borders and box shadows and things. I'm going to leave mine just like that. The little badge right here, if you choose to display it. You can put it top right, top center, top left, wherever you want to here. But if it's not where you want it, you can also use custom positioning for it and position it pretty much wherever you want. I'm happy with it to be top right, so I'm going to turn that off, leave it on top right. Background color, I'm going to make that an orange color. And font I'll leave as it is. Of course, Divi's got a crazy amount of fonts. To audition one, just click on the font there, roll over any of these fonts. It'll give you an example of that particular font. I'm going to leave mine on the default today. And I'm going to turn my text white. Looks like we've got a bit of a caching issue. That should be orange up there. I'm sure it will be when we save. We'll soon find out. Okay, you've got all these usual text settings for your badge and rounded corners. By default, it's got these 50 pixel rounded corners there. If you put a 0 in, it'll be square. I'm happy with that. As with all things Divi, if you don't like what you've done, delete it. It'll go back to the default for you. Yeah, there's a caching issue there. No problem. Okay, let's move on down. We got a title in there. It says card 1. You can go in there. Let's make that orange so we can see it. Yeah, and I'm going to capitalize it. I'm going to pop it in the middle. Make it maybe semi-bold or something. That's fine. Roll on down. We've got the body text. All I'm going to do is pop that in the middle. Make it a color that we can see. And if you're using a subheading, you can edit the subheading text right there. Now our little button. I want it to be in the middle. But I also want to use custom styles for it. I think I'll use that same orange we've been using there. Button text color, that's white. I'm going to leave it just as it is. Background color, I'll make it that orange. If you want to set a hover background color, just hover over button background here. This is common to all Divi modules. If you see a little arrow there, you can have a completely different setting when they hover their mouse on it by putting a little color in there. Let's just make it black, perhaps. That's great. I don't particularly want that border. I'm going to flip it back to desktop, which will be the orange there. Don't want to border. It says there's 0, but if I take it up to 1 and take it back down to 0, that should take that border away there. That's fine. You can give it rounded corners there and change the letter spacing and fonts and things like that. I'm going to leave mine just as it is. When we hover over, I've got a little icon appearing. If you don't want to show it, just flip that and it won't show it. And there's all kind of icons to choose from. They've teamed up with Font Awesome. So there's a lot of scrolling to do. It's a good idea to have an icon in mind. And you can choose the color of your icon down here. And also the placement. If you want the icon to be there all the time, you can flip this switch that says only show icon hover or for button. Or on hover, I should say. If you flip it, it'll be there all the time. I only want it to show on hover though. Not going to put any text shadow or anything. I will put a bit of margin on the bottom just to give it a bit more breathing space down there. So button margin. We have to use margin here. If we use padding, it'll make the button deeper. For instance, if I put 30 pixels padding on the bottom of the button, it'll make it deeper on the bottom. As you can see, that's not what I want there. That's why we've got to use margin with the button. So I'm going to cut that. I'm going to put it in the margin. And it's giving it a bit of space on the bottom there. Perfect. Now, spacing wise, you've got your content padding, which is here. With the Divi cards, it's difficult to, unless you use a bit of CSS, to put padding around the actual content itself without putting padding around a card. So that's a really nice feature. You've also got margins for that too. And you've got regular padding for the whole module itself down below. I'm happy with the way it's displayed. I'm not going to put a border on or a box shadow. I'm not going to use any filters or transform. Pretty much there. I'm fairly happy with the way that card is. So when you're happy with the first one, just hit that little check mark down there. It takes you back to the main Supreme Card Carousel setting. We can duplicate this. Let's make 3 or 4. It should start rotating automatically. We'll go into the second one here. I'll change this one to 2. And I'll change out that image. And of course, you'll want to change your button link if you're taking them to somewhere else. Like I say, this will work great for products and all kind of different things. I've used it in WooCommerce before for people to display their products. I'm going to pause this video now. I'm going to do exactly the same for the next couple. So we've got card 2, 3, 4. No point you watching me repeat myself here. Okay, well, I've just done my fourth one there. So we got 4 cards. Obviously, keep going as many as you want. I'm going to save that back to the main carousel settings there. Now, here's the fun part. Let's go down to our carousel settings just down below here. And you can do all kind of things with this. This is what I was saying earlier about this being really versatile. At the moment, ours is scrolling horizontally. You can flip it, scroll it vertically. And it's even telling us increase the height if the content is being cut out, which it is down below, but I'm not going to use this. And here's an example of if you wanted to use the image as a background, you'd have your content on top there. That would work nicely. I'm going to flip that back to horizontal. And we've got a slide effect. We've got a flip effect. I just roll that up slightly. Just flips it around quickly like a card. Got a cube effect. When it flips around, gives it sort of boxy type effect on the side there, which is great. But what I'm actually going to do today is I'm going to use cover flow. That sort of splits them up, and we can turn these things, rotate them and give them depth and things like that here, which is what I used before. So if we go down to rotate, we can sort of rotate them around whatever way we want. And the cover flow depth is the amount that it actually shows there. So I'm going to pull that in just a little bit. So the cards are almost touching. Take that rotate down a little bit. Something like that. I want to open it up just a little bit so I've got a little bit of daylight between the things there. But we can take that down with the depth here. Something just about like that. Just going to rotate that slightly less. Something like that. And you can increment it up and down the arrows to fine tune. I'm going to leave mine just like that. You can choose whether to have your carousel go left to right or right to left, obviously. Center mode, well, I don't need that. It's already doing that with that. That'll put one in the center at all times. Number of slides to show. I've got it to 3, but because we're using cover flow and a bit of depth, it's showing the 4th one slightly on the side there. You can put this in multiple rows if you want. Now, the slider speed is the time it takes from one slide to move to the next one. We're on 300 milliseconds here. Let's take that up to half a second perhaps. We'll just slow it down slightly. Fantastic. We want it to autoplay like it is at the moment. And each slide, it's sitting on each slide for 3 seconds by default. If you want it to be more, put in more, obviously. 4,000 milliseconds is 4 seconds. Now it's going to stay there for 4 seconds. Autoplay only on viewport. Well, when it's 80% in the visible viewport here, I've got no scrolling room, it'll start rotating, which is great because it won't be using your resources when it's out of sight. Now you can use your mouse wheel for it, and you can get it to pause on hover. I always like to switch that on purely because then they can put their mouse on it, it'll stop, they can read the content, look at the image and hit the button if they want to. Now spacing wise, you can space these out more or less if you want to. I was happy with the way it was. And again, just delete it, it'll go back to the default, or how you had it before, I should say. Want it to infinitely loop, which means it's going to keep on going and going. You can have it infinitely smooth scrolling, which will roll around a bit more like a wheel. I like the just regular loop. That's a little bit too much for me. Obviously, you want to slow it down a little bit. I'm going to turn that back off. Auto height, it's going to fill out the height of the thing. Equalize card heights. I don't really want that for this particular feature. Show arrow, we've already got that selected by default. If you want to turn it off, obviously turn it off. Show pagination, the little dots at the bottom. Same with that. You can disable touch dragging for iPhone and iPad and things like that. I'm going to leave that as it is. I'm happy for them to be able to do that. It's using the grab cursor. If I put my cursor on there, grab cursor is that little hand icon right there. You've got image settings here. enable lazy load. I'm going to leave mine to no at the moment because it's right at the top of my page, so it's going to I want it to load pretty quickly. So I'm pretty happy with that. I might change the pagination color in a minute. In fact, let's do that now. If we go over to our design here, layout and alignment, you can have it stacked or inline. That's not going to work for this. Stacked is fine on top of each other. Image, content, button. The image, you can give it rounded corners. It's the same as in the card. You can stretch it, make it bigger or smaller. Arrow element, this is what I wanted to change here. I'm just going to change that to the orange. I'm happy for it to be inside or outside. 40 pixels is fine. And down below that, we've got our pagination element. So let's make our active one that orange color. I'm going to make the inactive one white. It'll disappear into the background there. Now you can change all of the text, title, body and subheaded for all these slides at once. If you've got different text in them, you can make it all similar by doing it in here rather than the actual card itself. But I'm happy with all of that. So let's save this. I'm going to go into my row, or in my section rather, the blue tab I should say. I'm just going to give it a dark background for effect. That works fine for me. We'll save our changes. Let's save the page changes. Save draft or publish if you're ready. And let's exit the visual builder. There we have it, our little coming soon badge right there. As you can see, it's rendered properly on the front end here. Now I take my mouse off, it should roll. And it's going to roll every 4 seconds. And that is a wonderful looking carousel right there. Like I say, I've used this on several client sites for both team members and projects, and I've also used it on WooCommerce sites for products as well, and customers are really happy with it. But that is a nice looking little feature to have on your site. So when we hover over it, it's going to stop. They can go down, they can click on the button, read content, look at the image, and even click on the link coming soon if you've put one in there. So there we have it, guys. There's a Divi Supreme card carousel module. I really do think it's one of the most versatile modules out there. If you want to learn more about Divi Supreme, have a look at our playlist down below. There's also a link if you want to purchase it. I think you get 10% off or something with my affiliate code down there. So I hope you've enjoyed this today and found it useful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, ring the bell, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Once again, this has been Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.